1st, 1944. It's day 5 of the Battle of the Bulge. The German armored offensive now extends 60 kilometers into Belgium, and many Americans are still trapped inside the Bulge. John Marshall of the 707th Tank Battalion is one of them, and he's trying to find his way back to American lines.
As we go down in the lane, we could see a crowd surrendering. We knew something was wrong. And there is the 2 officers, and they jump up with the Panzerfaust.
Panzerfaust. It means tank fist, and it's one of the deadliest anti-tank weapons on the battlefield. It fires a 140-millimeter rocket at ranges of up to 60 meters and can penetrate 200 millimeters of armor, unleashing a devastating explosion inside.
And they fire at us. It missed. It missed the tank. I didn't need any orders or anything like that. Your own sense, I just pressed the old solenoid to machine gun the hell out of him. And I heard a sickening clack. I said, Spencer, the .30 caliber is jammed. And this time they were just starting to get up. He says, 75 millimeters loaded, and all you have to do is just turn your heel and press that solenoid. And I let that solenoid go in. I hit right into them. And the odd part of it is, the kid was still standing with his hands in the air, and he was holding his stubs up. So anyway, we went on.
Marshall and his crew dodge the advancing Germans for days and eventually make it back to Allied lines. On December 22nd, the German push towards the Meuse River bridges begins to slow. The rugged country northeast of Bastogne is a challenge, even for the Panthers of the 116th Panzer Division.
It was much more difficult in the Ardennes, because there were all these narrow forest roads. It was catastrophic because of all the close forest paths. Our tanks couldn't maneuver. The open field is typical landscape for tanks, while the Ardennes were poison for the tanks. This is where our Panther tank was hit. The first shell hit the tank track, and the tank became disabled. And if the one track keeps moving, the tank turns in a circle. It turned until it was standing at an angle with its corner facing the anti-tank gun. We had no idea that the Americans were firing phosphorus grenades. You can't really bring a tank down with phosphorus grenades. They just got lucky on the first shot that they hit and disabled our track.
White phosphorus rounds are incendiaries used to create smoke screens or mark enemy targets. They burn fiercely, but have little effect against the heavy armor on a Panther tank, unless they ignite exposed ammunition or fuel.
And there is an order that all German tank troops know. You can only get out of the tank when it is on fire. You are not allowed to get off before that, only when the tank is on fire. Most of the wounds suffered inside a tank are burns because of the fuel tank. If it gets hit full on, the tank catches fire immediately. And then there's only one thing you can do: get out as fast as you can. We sat inside the tank and counted 22 hits on our tank. It's not very enjoyable. The only feeling you have is, am I going to survive this? Finally, the 22nd hit went into the hull of the tank where the fuel canisters were. When the fuel tank got hit, that's when it caught fire and we were allowed to get out.
By the evening of December 22nd, the German push to the Meuse River bridges has almost completely halted. Panzer columns clog the narrow Ardennes roads, and many tanks run out of fuel. The Germans now turn their attention back to Bastogne. But the Americans in the encircled town are getting help. 3 combat commands of General Patton's 4th Armored Division move north to break the German blockade.
We're almost halfway to Bastogne, and we reached a place called Bernon. And by the time we reached the bridge, it was getting late in the afternoon. The bridge was blown. The river was cold, raging. In no way could the tanks ford them, so we had to stop and put in a bridge. Now, our tanks were firing at the enemy across the river, and they was firing at us. So once we felt it was safe enough, the engineers came in and we put in the bridge, mostly under the cover of darkness. And our tanks started crossing the bridge. One tank, one tank, one tank. And then we were ready to rest for the night. I got word, no, keep moving. Patton said, I want them to move. Now here were the exhausted men. Now they were told to fight all night. And finally, at about first light, we reached the outskirts of Chaumont. Suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, came a shot. Saw 3 jeeps from the 25th Cavalry hit. I immediately stopped my force. They must be down there in strength. I think I've got to have a planned operation.
It's a pincer maneuver that splits his force into 3 units. The tanks of C Company will attack from the west, while A Company attacks from the ridge east of the village. With his flanks protected, Erzik will drive his B Company down the main road and right into the center of Chaumont.
Now, if I were at Fort Knox, Kentucky, taking a tactics course, I probably would have gotten an A for my plan. But as you know, in combat, there are imponderables of the battlefield. C Company reports to me that 5 of his tanks, its first platoon, was completely bogged down. This ground was supposed to be frozen, so right away I knew C Company was of no help. So B Company started to advance down the town. We were hitting resistance, but it was not major resistance. The 10th Armored Infantry was working with us. As we got down into town, they would go into the buildings, around the buildings where the German soldiers were. B Company gets through the town, and at that point, the heavens open up and all hell breaks loose. They suddenly hit all at once by direct fire. Now it's a matter of survival.
Erzik and his men have driven into an ambush and now face the most lethal tank killer in the German arsenal. A massive self-propelled gun called the Jag Tiger.